on this early Saturday morning. I'm Margriet Bouma and I'm presenting this workshop together with Velt. You know him already. We're both working at the Dutch College of Clinical Practitioners. When I'm talking to soft, please remind me of speaking up because that's not a natural voice for me. This is the practice of case in Velt and he is working in an accredited practice himself.
In the church.
In the church.
So about preachers and merchants.
Oh no. Now I know why you need to be a merchant.
We're going to talk about the changes we are wants to implement. Well, there come our three neighbors. Welcome.
No one wants to play.
But they promised to be quiet.
We promised to be quiet.
That's all on the video, so we started the Dutch Practice Accreditation in 2005, and nowadays about 30% of all practices are participating in the program. And the goal of the program was continual improvement of the practice, and the system was developed by general practitioners in collaboration with other stakeholders like the healthcare insurances and the patients. And as Jose told us yesterday, it's on a voluntary basis. The main goal was improvement of the quality of care, but another goal was accountability and transparency. Well, as you all know, transparency can lead to a lot of administration, so it's not always easy to have all the goals explained to our participants. The key figures of the system are that it's a 3-year cycle, that the practice has to start with measurements, then there's feedback with benchmark, and that's an incentive for improvement. The core business of the program is working with improvement plans, and in addition there is a set of minimal requirements. We are using an instrument called the VIA, the Visitation Instrument for the Accreditation, and we developed it with EQuiP Healthcare in person, Jose spelling. And as she told yesterday, there are 3 domains that we're measuring: the practice management, the medical performance, and the patient's experience by using the Europair. In the first year, the practice starts with the data collection. They have to fill in questionnaires and they have to send questionnaires to the patients. They have to collect data from the records, and they have an auditor who collects some data as well. And then there's data analysis, and the practice will get feedback reports with the benchmarking, and we use the reference practices from the other participants as the reference practices. And during a pre-audit, the auditor will discuss the results with the practice, and then the practice will discuss the results themselves and choose what kind of improvement plans they will make. The practice also has to look if they meet minimal requirements, and then can tell that they're ready for the audit. And about the improvement plans, we told the practice that they have to cover all the 3 domains, unless there's very high quality in one domain. And the plans have to have a relationship with the feedback report, and of course with the minor, they have to improve the low scores in the feedback reports. But the practice itself can tell what kind of low scores have priority and for this practice to be improved. And they have to do a smart formulation of the goals, specific, measurable, acceptable, relevant and time frame. And for some practices, and perhaps still it is a big problem to make the goals measurable. And changing can be difficult as well. When the practice has done all these things, they tell an independent organization that they're ready for an audit. we have put the auditors in an independent organization because when we didn't, the other stakeholders said, well, there's a GP coming to another GP and says, oh, you have this kind of problem, I know, I recognize it, of course I did solve to my practice, it's okay for you as well. So it is an independent organization with auditors, and the auditor is doing a review of the improvement plans, if they're smart, and they're doing a check if the practice meets the requirements. And the requirements are about infection prevention, and they look if there are descriptions how to manage the medical equipment, like the doctor's bag, or if the practice is having a procedural and incident reporting. And if the practice is meets all requirements, then there's an accreditation. And in the second and third year, it's in fact the same scheme. The auditor looks if the goals from the first year are achieved, if the new plans are related to the minimum scores and if they are adequate, and if the practice still meets the minimum requirements, and so on and so on. So we're doing that now for about 6 years. But we did encounter some problems. The first problem is that there was insufficient support for the system from other stakeholders. For instance, the GPs wanted to have some of the money back. It's quite expensive for a practice, and they wanted to have some money back from the insurances. But the insurances said, well, we don't recognize enough in the program. The last point, they said the transparency is insufficient because we know that the practice is accredited, but we don't know what goals are reached by the practice. We don't know what is the content of the improvement plans. We don't know if this practice in the lower quartile or in the higher quartile. We don't know in what time the improvements will be made. So if a practice is in the lower quartile, perhaps it will cost 20 years to be on the same level of a practice that is now in the higher quartile. So they wanted more influence. On the other hand, GPs, they complained about the system as well, because they said, well, we have to meet lots of requirements, we have to do a lot of work, and it's very time costly, but the bureau with the independent auditors, they don't have to meet any requirements at all, so they must be certificated as well. And the patients, they had some comments too about the transparency, and they wanted their own questionnaire in the being used in the program, which is a kind of other questionnaire. And they had also comment on the auditors, because half of the auditors is GP, and then they have the discussion about having a deal with each other so that you can make easy steps forward. So, in a new way, the independent organization made a new certification scheme. And this scheme is not completely different from what we have, but it's a set of general standards, like that the practice has to work with guidelines that are generally accepted in Holland. And in addition, there are some explicit minimal requirements, like some requirements on infection prevention. And this whole new scheme was assessed by a college, wherein participating general practitioners and patients and insurance and inspectorate of healthcare. And they've just agreed with the new scheme. And that means that the practice has to carry out a risk analysis on quality and safety issues, that the practice has to demonstrate how it controls these risks, and they have, of course, to prioritize what risks are most important, so they start with those risks first. And they still have to carry out improvements systematically using the measurements, which means they use the indicators that we had in the fire.
What do you mean by a risk analysis on quality?
Well, a risk analysis, I don't know. That's why Kees talked before. For us, it's quite new as well. But it means that you look at the practice and say, well, what is it possible that the patients come to the practice and then it's closed? So, how big is the chance, and what do I do about it so that it doesn't happen? Or how big is the chance that I'm in a patient and use medication A, have to use it, but it's not on my bag? We have 3 levels of feedback, and we've heard it before from Czechia, I think. There are normative items, so if you don't meet these questions, you have to improve them immediately. then that means that it doesn't matter at the moment that you don't reach the requirements. We can actually improve the year through improvement plans, and then there's a lot of informative items, and it's optional for the practice to improve or not, but then you have the benchmark from the other practices. And in this certification scheme, it says that the practice is responsible, and there we start with our problems, I can say. The practice is responsible to choose appropriate answers for the risks and problems encountered. And the solutions the practice chooses, they have to be adequate and suitable for the practice. And of course it's very nice because there are differences between practices, and it's nice if the practice can make its own, the best solution for this practice. The auditor, on the other hand, is responsible to check if the practice meets the general standards. The auditor has to check if the practice meets the specific requirements and has to check the improvement plans. For the patient, this means that the patient can trust that this practice delivers safe and well-considered care. Well, what is the goal of our workshop? Kees and I thought that we'd like to exchange ideas about possible problems for practices and auditors in the new system. And the reason we'd like to discuss it is because both practices and auditors have to deal with the demand for more standardization, so that it's easy. You have to set a standard which all practices have to meet, versus local solutions that are appropriate according to the practice. And we'd like to, I've made 4 questions, and we'd like to discuss them in small groups, and in the last, well, perhaps 50 minutes, report it and discuss the main conclusions. And I'll tell you what the questions are. The first question we have is product certification the answer to guarantee good quality of care, or do you know any other and especially better alternatives for what we have formulated? And do you know what systems lead to real improvement of quality of care against acceptable time and costs? And do you have positive or negative experiences which you want to exchange in your group? And is this system, the systems you know, are really acceptable for the stakeholders and feasible for small organizations? What did I do here? Oh yes, that's the patients who can tell on the website what they think about the practice. Then the formalization. We wondered which, and we specified for the essential procedures should be written down, for instance in protocols. Should the content of these descriptions and protocols be checked by the auditor? I've seen, and which are the criteria to do so. We have measured, it was obligatory for practice to have protocol and sterilization. Lots of practice said it's not necessary in my practice. I have a practice assistant and she's doing this job for 20 years and we're completely satisfied with that. Why should I write it down? So they sent us examples of protocols where the practice said the assistant cleans the instrument, step 1, step 2, she puts them into the sterilizator, step 2, step 3, the doctor turns on the sterilizator, and step 4, the assistant gets them out. Well, of course that's provocative for us to tell us that they don't like this requirement, but the question is, when is it necessary to have a protocol, or isn't it necessary at all?